Now, do you wish like you had a third term? And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony.
The increase in hospitalizations and deaths shows that COVID is here to stay, and that we will continue to need tools to fight it.
On May the 6th of 2016, President Obama sent a letter to every school district in the United States. And President Obama said, every child has a right to use the bathroom of the gender that they identify with. And President Obama threatened the state departments of education. If you don't let transgender children use the bathroom of the gender they identify with, we will cut your funding. We will cut your money. We will cut your grants. And so Barack Obama, more than any other politician in the world, fed the transgender movement.
We discovered inconsistencies in equipment valuation for Ukraine for a combined total of $6.2 billion.
I set up the foundation in Ukraine in 1990, which was 2 years before the independence of Ukraine.
Where does George Soros figure in all this?
К сожалению, везде.
Unfortunately, everywhere. If we talked about some positive results from the activities of this gentleman,
Этого господина, то надо было...
then we should have noted some success.
Его деятельность направлена в основном...
But his activity is mainly focused on those countries where he took an active position with his various funds. We remember the countries in North Africa where the Arab Spring happened. Libya, Tunisia, and Egypt. We remember the Tulip Revolution in Kyrgyzstan. We remember the Rose Revolution in Georgia. We remember the Orange Revolution in 2004. And finally, the consequences of not only the Orange Revolution, but also the Revolution of Dignity of 2013 and 2014. This is also his activity. He did not stop. He continued to operate in 2015 and 2016.
Hillary Clinton comes in as Secretary of State, and at that point she sets up a private email system. I think now it's pretty clear that part of what was going on is they were setting up the underpinnings that would set up the Maidan. She introduced a program called Civil Society 2.0.
And what we've done with Secretary Clinton's Civil Society 2.0 program is we've taken one of America's undeniable strengths, the strength of our technology and of our innovators, and we've put them to work in service of our diplomatic goals.
This is a way for the U.S. government to work directly with NGOs like International Renaissance, funded by George Soros, and while working with those NGOs, fund money to them, but also training, and the kind of training that would be used when the Maidan would start.
Time for the conversation, and I see a man who is hard to miss.
You are not superior to me. I and the people that love God are superior to you. You will pay for what you've done.
What do you think, the lizard people are in charge? Is that what you think? Hey, you're pissed.
Now,
Is that what you think?
you just need to move on, though.
Bullshit. We're being nice here.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a few questions, if I may, for the camera.
No.
None at all?
No.
I just wondered what you thought about the current austerity plan that we're going through in this country.
I don't think that my views are terribly.
You don't think so? But you're a Rothschild. I think you have knowledge of such things, such as finances.
Next time.
New World Order, Mr. Rothschild?
Right?
New World Order? Depopulation?
Oh, listen, who are you...
Genocide?
Who are you televising for?
Well, we're independent filmmakers. But you have nothing to say, Mr. Rothschild.
Have a nice life, sir. And a nice death.
Well done.
In true fifth-generation warfare, you do not know who your opponent is. Example, who is responsible for, who's the puppet master behind the COVID crisis as we've experienced it? Who is it? Anybody here know? Was it Klaus? No. There's something above Klaus. Was it Biden? Was it Tony Fauci? These are all surrogates, okay? You don't really know who is managing the message that has been propagated on you. That's fifth-generation warfare. Over the last 3 years, Western governments, non-governmental organizations, transnational organizations, pharmaceutical industry corporations, media and financial corporations have cooperated via public-private partnerships, which I assert is a euphemism for fascism, to deploy the most massive, globally harmonized psychological and propaganda operation in the history of the world. Okay, over the last 3 years, you have been subjected to the most massive, harmonized, globally coordinated propaganda campaign in the history of the Western world. Full stop. With this campaign, the governments of many Western nation states have turned, okay, this is key, military-grade psychological operations strategies, tactics, technologies, and capabilities developed for modern military combat against their own citizens. These are inconvenient facts. The world that many of us believed existed no longer exists if it ever did.
The technology now is, and digital technologies mainly have an analytical power. Now we go into a predictive power, and we have seen the first examples, and your company very much involved into it. But then the next step could be to go into a prescriptive mode, which means you do not even have to have elections anymore, because you can already predict, and afterwards you can say, why do we need elections? Because we know what the result will be.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's, where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Do you know why then Rockefeller, the Ford Foundation, and Linda and Bill Gates Foundation, I don't know, are paying for the Stalwart Vault in Norway to keep all the seeds that are not GMO? What is your stake on it?
The question was about why the Gates Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation, Syngenta, which is one of the largest GMO corporations, a British Swiss company, why they financed the creation of a nuclear-proof seed vault to store all the seed varieties of the entire planet up near the Arctic Circle, inaccessible by Greenpeace boats or almost anything. What's going on with that? What interest do they have? Well, the BBC, when they did a story on it years ago, called it the Doomsday Seed Vault. I don't know. I can't answer that, but it sure is a scary thing to me. Are they planning to do something to the seed varieties of the entire planet and then be the ones who control what comes out and in what form it's genetically manipulated or not? I don't know, but it certainly is a very scary thing. One of the first things to happen when the U.S. bombed Saddam Hussein's Iraq back to the Stone Age in 2003, Iraq is the cradle of civilized agriculture, the Tigris-Euphrates Valley, Mesopotamia. And there was a seed bank of wheat varieties in a place in Iraq called Abu Ghraib. We've heard about it all through the prison. Well, during the course of the U.S. bombing of Iraq, that seed bank in Abu Ghraib disappeared. Nobody could say where it went. The farmers had to depend on the USAID to get seed.
You say you are anti-identity politics, anti-affirmative action in a party that hates the Soros name, yet you accepted a Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship at law school that was specifically set up for the children of immigrants. It was an affirmative action scholarship, and your defense for that is that you didn't have the money to pay for law school, even though you'd already made over $1 million at the time and made another $2 million.
My defense of that is somebody gives you a merit scholarship at the age of 24, you take it. At the age of 24, somebody gives you a merit scholarship, you take it. I didn't say I didn't have the money. I said at a time when I had a lot less money than now, $50,000
you said exactly I didn't have the money, Vivek. You keep forgetting your quote. You said, when I didn't have the money.
So Mehdi, I've made this really easy for everybody. And I did this in the early weeks of the campaign. I released 20 years of tax returns.
Yes, you did.
Something that no presidential candidate, let alone somebody who's successful in business, has done. I challenge Democrats and Republicans alike, including the Biden family, to do it. And you know what? I released it so that you could look at them, so we can have an honest conversation.
And I appreciate that.
The funny thing I've learned,
I do appreciate that. It's something Trump should learn from you.
I think that transparency is important. So it's already open and everybody can see it.
Exactly. We have 2009.
But the fact of the matter is, you know what I would advise every 24-year-old should take
2009 and 2010. You made $750,000. You had the money to pay for law school. You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean, none of this is worthy, but if you think it is, let's get to the detail. That was actually the first big piece of money.
You say you're anti-affirmative action. You took a scholarship for immigrants and their children.
I'm anti-affirmative action.
So why did you take a scholarship for the children of immigrants?
Which falsehood would you like me to address? The financial one or the one about my views on affirmative action? Because I can go in whichever order you'd like.
Did you not make $750,000?
On the financial piece of it. Not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
That December.
Yes, you did, Vivek. This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
No, it's not awkward for you. Yes, on December 31st, when the application for the scholarship was that October. Mehdi, you're wasting your time on childish details in October of that year when I applied for that scholarship. And it was, well, guess what? The bonuses that a hedge fund pays, and it's a shame that, again, you don't have to be an expert on this, but if you're going to spout out, you better know something about it. People pay at a hedge fund the bonuses at the end of a year, and on December 31st, that's when I was paid. I applied for the scholarship that September, and I did not grow up in a wealthy family.
Vivek, you made more money the previous year.
I made $200,000 pre-tax or whatever it was.
No, you didn't.
And you know what?
No, you didn't. You're now telling flat. In 2009,
you have my tax returns in front of you. I don't remember what I made in 2009.
In 2009, you made $650,000. In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship, Oh, so now we're bringing tax into it. We've been using gross numbers.
Absolutely.
Vivek, you're wrong on this. Go back and check your tax returns.
$50,000 obviously makes a big difference.
And then you accepted a Soros scholarship for $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Well, you know what the fact is, Mehdi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then. And anybody who has a few $100,000 in the bank is going to take $50,000 without strings attached. Take the scholarship. But my question for you is, why on earth are you, as an intelligent person interested in politics, obsessing over a 24-year-old's $50,000 scholarship?
I'm interested in truth,
beneath you.
We have a country to fix. That you wear. I'm interested in truth.
And Mehdi, that's why I released 20 years. Mehdi, that is why I released 20 years of tax records. Tell your friends in the Biden administration to do the same thing.
Everyone's in on the Great Reset. Well, almost everyone. There's one guy who's got the power to do something to stop it, and you know exactly where I'm going. And they made a mistake. They tried to get Trump on their side, so they invited Donald Trump to Davos, I think a couple of times. But in January, when Donald Trump, I think, really began to see the beast that he was up against, he went to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, and he stuck a mega finger in their eye.
We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
2 days after Donald Trump gave that speech, the 89-year-old leftist weirdo billionaire George Soros made an emergency intervention where, at Davos, once again, warning that the U.S. 2020 election will determine the, quote, fate of the whole world. Now, in the context of Davos, take a look at this one more time. This is a month after Donald Trump addressed Davos and stuck the MAGA finger in their face. Here's what Francis, the Vatican, and Jeffrey Sachs had to say in response.
And it is a dangerous country right now. It will be absolutely dangerous if Trump wins re-election. Trump wins re-election. Trump wins re-election.
Francis invited this guy to the Amazon Synod as an honored guest and advisor. He's also Bernie Sanders' advisor. What's he doing in the Vatican? Why is this guy who's a promoter for socialist, out and out socialist, Bernie Sanders, what's he doing advising the Pope? Why does he have entree to the Vatican, friends? Sachs supports abortion and contraception, but that's not a problem for the Vatican. For the Vatican, for Pope Francis, and for his friends at the UN, Donald Trump is the problem, obviously, friends.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020.
Do you get it? Do you see why there's so much hate for Trump? Because with all of his faults, again, he's the capitalist. He's not the globalist. He never will be one of them, which is why he pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Donald Trump pulled the United States out of the World Health Organization. That's Bill Gates and company. And now he's threatening to pull the United States out of the World Trade Organization. People say, yeah, well, Donald Trump got married twice. He's a bad guy. Really? He's right in the face of the demons on this, friends. Nobody ever said he was a saint. He's knocking the sacred cows of the United Nations down all over the world right now.
The General Assembly routinely votes 185 against the United States on almost everything right now.
And you remember, speaking of the United Nations, in November of 2019, again, right before COVID landed, Trump went to the UN on the floor of the General Assembly, and he declared war on globalism.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
And shortly after the speech at the UN, Donald Trump delivered, what do you think happened? The coronavirus was unleashed on the world, and Trump's booming U.S. economy went on life support. Do you think that was an accident? So when they tell you, when they tell all of us to stay home, wear your mask so grandma doesn't get sick, please understand what's really going on here. They don't care about your grandmother. They don't care about old people, these people. They don't care about babies. They want them aborted so that they can save the common home. Abort babies, millions of them all over the world. They don't care about babies. They don't care about old people. In fact, if you want to save your grandma, tell the globalists to stay the hell away from her. You remember how some of them, like Cuomo and characters like this, were running COVID recovering patients through nursing homes? That's how much they care about grandma. And the name of the game now is to bring the United States economy to its knees, get it out of the way, so that everyone will want the Great Reset. Make the new normal so intolerably abnormal that even you and I, maybe, at some point in the near future, will be begging for the vaccines because we'll be driven crazy by that point. Begging for whatever else is going to keep us safe according to our jailers and our handlers and our zookeepers. You see? That's what they want. That's why they keep using this term, new normal. You know what we do to fight back? Go to work. Go back to school. If you're healthy, take off the mask. And for heaven's sake, go back to church and pray that Trump wins in November. That's what the reset was all about. That's what the Russia hoax was all about. That's what the impeachment hoax was all about. Don't you see? For 4 years, I've been trying to stop this man because if he strengthens America, if he makes it great again, if he brings the economy back again, the reset won't happen. The New World Order is going to be set way back. Who knows when they're going to have another COVID opportunity like this one again, and they know it. So ask yourselves why they hate this man. These folks, these men, they hate God. They hate the unborn. They hate the traditional family. They hate you. And they hate Donald Trump, whose political opponents, by the way, right now are knocking statues of saints to the ground. They're beating up cops, and they're burning flags. You say you don't like Trump. I'm sorry, friends, but who cares? That doesn't really matter anymore. But you think of Trump's personality or his tweets. Look at the big picture. The choice is simple, friends. Stand with America right now, or fall with the New World Order in the not-so-distant future. There's no other choice. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV, and we'll see you next week.
I know George Soros very well. He is my opponent. He believes in none of the things that we do. And he has an army at his service. Money, NGOs, universities, research institutions, and half the bureaucracy in Brussels. He uses this army to force his will on his opponents, like us Hungarians. He thinks that the values dear to all of us led to the horrors of the 20th century. But the case is exactly the opposite. Our values save us from repeating history's mistakes. The horrors of Nazis and communism happened because some Western states in continental Europe abandoned their Christian values. And today's progressives are planning to do the same.
Michelle Obama in 2024? Don't laugh, it could really happen. I'm Cheryl Chumley, and I'm the host of Bold and Blunt, the podcast that gives you a Christian conservative look at today's news, politics, culture, and events. And one of my guests this week is named Joel Gilbert, and he has spent years and years researching the Obama family. And he says, look for November for Michelle Obama to indeed announce a run for the White House. Yikes, if you're a limited government type of person. But to get the whole show, you'll have to subscribe or tune in to Bold and Blunt, available at WashingtonTimes.com, Edify.app, Real Life Network, or wherever podcasts are offered. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, subscribe. Thank you.
You understand politics, you think you understand political parties, you're all full of crap, you don't know what the Illuminati is, if you're Republican or you're Democrat, you're wrong! Why? It's this easy, it's called divide and conquer. That's why there's two parties and only two, and they're controlled by the same people at the very top who belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberger Group, they also belong to the Trilateral Commission, and you people don't even know what the hell that is. But if you did know, you would know that these are the people that control your world by making global policies that you never vote on, and by which parties both serve and belong to these organizations and control your world. Now, here's how it works. Really easy. Divide and conquer can only work if the people that are divided are not aware of the falsely created division. If you're not aware of it, then it works. If you know about it, then it don't work no more. If you have socialism without capitalism, it becomes communism. If you have capitalism without socialism, it becomes fascism. And it's just that easy. That's all you need to know. That's why Masonic symbols are all over your freaking money. But you don't pay attention.